Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com.
I'm Bob, how's it going?
I'm up here on the 2023 Salomon QST 106. Really great ski.
Yeah, I think we both agree that the changes are nice without adding too much different stuff.
Yeah, totally. It's been a really fun testing process. We've had them in a wide variety of conditions, including a February thaw with some wind and rain.
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, so it certainly could be better up here, but as you saw in the first part of the video, we have had them in some great snow. So excited to talk more about them. We'll meet you back in the studio this afternoon, and we're gonna just try and make the most of this warm, wet day.
Oh yeah, you can really get an angle.
Gotta manage the spot.
You all right?
Whew. Hey skiers, here we are back in the studio. We made the most of it up there this morning.
I'm dry now.
Yes.
I wasn't dry then,
No,
but what are you gonna do?
but it feels a lot better being dry after being soaking wet while
Yep.
skiing.
Yep, absolutely.
So we had that benefit for us. I got to do those jump turns.
Yeah, that was pretty sick.
That was pretty sweet.
Yep.
Yeah, if you didn't pick up on that, that was a complete joke. But we had a blast out there. Most of the mountain was closed this morning, so Bob and I were traversing across the mountain trying to get to stuff that really isn't accessible from the lifts that were open. So
Right.
that was like our side country this morning.
There's always fun to be had out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't let some rain get you down. And here it is. This is the new QST 106. Really cool ski. Kind of in the written article, I mentioned kind of just like the concept of like sometimes manufacturers do things that like maybe not surprise us, but they kind of catch us off guard.
Yep.
And I feel like that was the case last year when we got the new QST 98 and the new QST blank, which is right there. Bob standing next to a couple pairs of QST blanks. They carried forward the theme of the QSTs, hands down.
Right.
You know, no denying that. But there were also some kind of, you know, I think notable changes to this ski.
Right.
You know, and things that we didn't necessarily expect, kind of the shorter effective edge, stuff
Yep.
like that. I think it was probably most interesting kind of talking about the QST 99 versus the new 98 last
Right.
season.
Yeah.
So sometimes we're kind of surprised by things. I would say this is the opposite of that scenario.
Sure.
Where when a manufacturer like Salomon, when they change 2 out of 4 skis in a line, we kind of expect the remaining 2 skis to get that same change
Yep.
going into the next season. So right here we have the 2022 QST 106, and then this will be next year's ski is what we here refer to as 2023. Salomon's one of those companies that refers to this as fall winter 22, which can get very confusing.
Yeah.
But as far as we're concerned, this is the 2023 ski.
I don't know what year it is now.
It's great point, Bob. So let's kind of talk about some of the changes to these skis. Like I mentioned, this is the current QST
Yep.
106. And before we kind of dive into all the differences, this is a great ski.
Yeah, we've had a lot of success with that over the past few years. You
Yeah.
know, when they kind of morphed the 106 into that, what is it, 2 or 3 years ago now?
Yeah, that feels right. That was like a very
Yeah.
noticeable improvement.
Yeah, definitely. That old 106 to this was a big jump.
Yep. So kind of like looking at the differences between that ski and this new ski, maybe we'll start with shape because I think shape is kind of the most obvious thing when you're just looking at them.
Yep.
If you've watched the 98 review, you're going to be pretty well versed with all the stuff that we're going to talk about here.
Yeah.
So probably the most noticeable thing right off the bat is this change to tip shape. So we get more early taper in this new ski, which is consistent to what we saw in the 98 and the blank as well.
Yeah, and interestingly, right before we started, we noted that they list the same tip width of both of these skis in this length, which depends on where you're measuring it on kind of the taper scale.
Yeah.
But when you put current versus next year's, at the widest point for this, you definitely see the full edge, about 2 millimeters wider. So that indicates that they've dropped that widest point down in the ski.
Yep. And I think it's probably fair to say that there's more surface area in the tip of this ski.
I think so too.
You're getting a little more float. It certainly feels that way, and we'll get into that feel in a little bit here. Kind of the other big change to shape, Bob, if you want to take that QST and flip it upside down for me, I see longer tail rocker in these skis as well as a little bit more splay. So I don't even know if it's going to come across particularly well on camera. But basically when you combine the changes to tip shape and then the changes to this tail shape, a big way maybe the best way to describe it is if you just have this thing on firm snow, it has a shorter effective edge.
Yeah, and let me get one of those.
Sure.
I had better success, I think, with 1 and 1 together to see that difference. I'm not sure if that'll come through, but definitely more of that tip shape jutting out versus a smoother shape here.
Yep.
And then I think it's more noticeable in the tail.
Yes, I do too.
So that change in the rocker profile is pretty noticeable.
And you can also see the difference in taper shape in the tail as well.
Yeah, and kudos to Salomon for having some of the best bases in the game. Just like unbelievable graphics here.
Yep.
But yeah, you can definitely feel that difference in taper. Their widest point is definitely more close to the actual tail in the green,
right,
versus this one where that taper is really dropped down.
Right there. So yeah, definitely some changes to shape. I think overall, even though we're pointing out some things that are differences, it's still a pretty similar shape. It's a rocker camber rocker ski with a 19-meter turn radius.
Yeah.
So there are some changes to its shape, and we'll talk about what that does to it. And you and I had this conversation too just moments ago. I think among all the new QST skis, these are more similar to these than the other skis in the line.
Yeah, we noticed a big difference in the 98 for sure.
Yeah.
The 92 we'll get to at some point.
Yeah, there's a new 92 as well. It follows kind of the same conversation, same trends.
And then this versus the
118.
118 is a big difference.
Maybe the biggest difference there. So that's kind of the change to shape. And then construction's pretty similar too. We just get one key new ingredient, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So we still have a full-length poplar wood core, pretty common. Lots of companies use poplar. Nothing crazy there. Get Salomon's CFX Superfiber, which I don't even think they call it Superfiber anymore, but when they came out with it, they called it CFX Superfiber, and that's what it'll always be to me. So that's that kind of innovative technique of blending carbon and flax.
Yep.
And then we get cork damplifier. So they use some cork in the tips and tails. They used to use different materials, and cork is way more absorbing of vibrations than pretty much anything else that you can put in a ski.
Yep.
So you get really, really good vibration damping as the ski hits whatever it's hitting first.
Yep.
It's a great place to have good vibration damping is right up here in the tip. And then the change that we see is this double sidewall technology, which is something that we saw in the blank as well as the 98, and I think is really important to its performance. So this is a high density ABS material that's injected into the ski, kind of runs just on top of the full-length existing sidewall, and really does a good job kind of strengthening the underfoot portion of the ski, which to me, when you're shortening the effective edge of something, you have to kind of make up for that. Otherwise, the ski is not going to be as stable, not going to be as strong, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I think we noticed the benefit of that last year when we got on these in the 98s.
Absolutely.
We said, wow, they've shortened this radius, they haven't added metal, yet there's really strong grip underfoot.
Yep.
And again, not to take away from current 106.
No, the ski's still very strong too.
It's a full sidewall ski.
Right.
That's a real ski. But when you kind of move that that radius into the middle more, it's certainly helpful to have that extra material, that stiffer feel underfoot, while leaving tips and tails more playful and surfy.
I think so too, absolutely. So those are the changes to shape and construction. We had a great couple powder days on this ski.
Yeah.
And I know you think really fondly of its powder performance. So kind of take us through your experience on this ski on that powder day we had.
It's impressive how well this tip performs and acts in that snow. And it was pretty, there was structure to the snow. It wasn't blower, it wasn't heavy, but it was somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, which I think is probably like the best for testing.
I think so, because you can do, it's easier to like smear a turn.
And you can feel more things.
Yeah.
Rather than when you're just skiing like 2 feet of blower powder.
Right.
You're just like, everything's amazing.
This is awesome. Yeah, no, you can definitely feel it.
Yeah.
And then it cruds up too. So,
Yep.
Having that kind of, less perfect, surface
Yep.
really gives a good insight into how this is going to perform, because that 106 is one of the better crud skis in the class.
Yeah, we've always put this near the top
Yep.
of that category. Like, you want a crud busting ski,
Yeah.
get a QST 106.
And it kind of feels like this thing's pretty stiff. It definitely has some stiffness to it. But when you take that taper shape here, it really it catches the snow and pops right up.
Yeah.
Very similar through the tail as well. Really kind of get that, you can do that nice tail steering,
Yep.
Without leaning back.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the best parts of this. Even with that, the turn radius didn't shorten the way that it did with Blank and 98,
Nope.
but that was on purpose to try to make this thing have a little bit more skier input, be able to, use the ski the way that you want to use it, as opposed to having it, turn more for you. So I think that really worked well in the powder. And
Yep.
then in the crud, it was great. You didn't feel a whole lot. And this is the 181, which we were both on. I think getting on the 188 would even take that to the next level, or 189.
189
Yeah,
now.
189.
Yeah.
I think for someone my size, I would take that to the next level and really smooth everything out. But
Yep.
even at the 181, I was pretty impressed with how this thing really evened out the snow surface.
Yeah. I had a blast on it
Yeah.
on that day. Hopefully that came through just in the first 20 seconds of this video.
Right.
How much fun it was to ski on a powder day. I'm very, very impressed by its float.
Yep.
I think it takes a lot of characteristics from this ski and kind of reapplies it, and it's only 6 millimeters narrower.
Right.
So it's still, there's a lot of similarities between those two skis over there. I think, did you mention bobbing, or the way it kind of comes back
I mentioned
up?
that it pops up. Yeah.
The word that it comes to mind for me is bobbing.
Yeah.
So I think about like a fishing bobber.
Yeah.
And like how it as soon as it goes under the water, it comes right back up.
Yeah.
And that's the same exact thing that I found on these skis. Last year when we did the Blank review, I was like fascinated by the last like inch of the ski here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just got this like nice curvature, like the curvature of the ski gets more abrupt right at the end here, which I actually think does help it kind of rise back out of the snow. And then the wiggle factor.
Yeah.
You get the wiggle factor from that tail rocker, so it's just super intuitive, super easy to ski in powder, and just a lot of fun. And I was thinking about the length breakdown too, and like you said, 181 even worked pretty well for you. I'm not a big skier, but typically in a powder ski, I go more like 185 or even like longer sometimes. With the amount of rocker in skis like this, I generally want to go a little longer. There was no lack of float in a 181,
Yeah.
which was noticeable to me. Like that, a 181 is a great length for me, but sometimes sometimes that length can feel divey and catchy in powder, and I never felt that way on this. So kudos to Salomon for building in really good float and maneuverability and doing so all in a kind of a shorter length.
Well, I think the substance has a lot to do with that.
I
mean,
agree.
we're just south of 2,000 grams in this ski.
Right. Which is a good moment to point out that they apparently dropped 100 grams
Yeah.
out of this ski to that ski. So.
Right, so it's not, it's not a feather. It's certainly not one of the lighter 105, 106s that we
Right.
get on. And without metal being around that 2,000 mark does mean that there's
Yep.
something going on in here.
Yep.
Which is very helpful in terms of, adding that stability to the fun and playfulness of it.
Yep. Now, we're not always skiing powder. It'd be great if we were.
Yeah.
But sometimes with changes like this to tip shape and effective edge and stuff like that, you get all the benefits that we just talked about in powder, but then you kind of lose some performance on a groomer. The ski can feel twitchy. I think that's something that it already kind of impressed us with the 98, and same thing here. When you're carving or just skiing this thing hard on firmer snow, it still stays very composed.
Yeah, I think skier input on not powder is a key here. This thing doesn't yank you into a turn like some of the other skis in this category.
Even that will pull the old one. They're old. This will pull you into a turn a little bit more.
Yeah.
Just a difference in the tip shape.
Yeah, it's just a little driftier at the entry point. I think that, and then with that 19-meter radius, I mean, that's on the longer side. It's not like a super long turn shape, but it's certainly, it likes to go straighter. It doesn't, you can make it go across the fall line and it'll handle that, but it doesn't do it intuitively. It does require input.
Yep. But it still carves pretty well.
Yeah.
If you're that type of skier, you're willing to give it the input that it needs. You're willing to give it kind of the direction. I think it's a great ski. It's not going to ski for itself, but
right.
I think a lot of skiers don't like that. They don't like when a ski feels like it wants to do one thing, and you don't necessarily want it to do that thing. This is, a very good tool for a real skier. I also had a lot of fun on it in the trees around here without a lot of snow. We had a couple days that were kind of low tide days, but we still took it in the trees, and I thought it was very agile and quick and fun.
Yeah, I had no issues with this thing in trees and tighter spots.
Yeah.
It's easy to turn.
I'm sure we've had this conversation plenty of times before, but I give a ton of credit to that CFX material.
Right.
You get the energy of carbon, but it's not pingy.
Right.
I think pingy would be the last word to describe any QST skis.
Yeah, very nice knock factor.
That's not a pingy feel.
No.
It's not a pingy flex pattern. There's some smoothness and some suppleness to it, but it's still quick and agile. Very fun ski.
Yep.
A couple other things that I wanted to talk about. Bob, anything else that you want to talk about before I go off on weird Jeff tangents?
Is one of your Jeff tangents going to be the touring capability?
Yes.
Okay. Then let's just do that then.
Yeah, so these have always been billed as kind of hybrid touring skis.
Right.
The QST line has always gone hand in hand with the shift binding, and I think that is a really good application for it. If you want a hybrid 50-50 resort, side country, backcountry ski, well, that would be 33, 33, 33. Sorry. You know what I mean. 33.3, 33.
Yeah.
If you want to split your time between a bunch of different stuff, you want the ability to go touring, but you're not going to be touring a lot, grab a ski like this.
Yeah.
Put a Shift 13 on it. I think that's a fantastic application.
I mean, you're pulling weight uphill.
Yeah, but that's fine.
That's the only downside is that you're pulling more weight uphill. It's a few hundred grams on the ski.
Right.
If you're going to have that one setup, which is kind of what we've been talking about a lot with new 2023, these hybrid skis. It's if you're going to have one setup, this is a great choice.
Right. I think about it as the type of skier who's doing more it's not like you're out there for a full day of touring.
Right.
You're not doing multiple laps, or you're not doing really, really long, demanding ascents. You're going out there to have fun.
Yep.
And I think this is a great choice. Now, alternatively, we've been skiing it with a new Strive binding. This is a new retail Strive 16. Absolutely no reason why you can just throw touring out of the conversation completely and just use this as a resort ski.
Yep.
And it's going to be fantastic. And this binding is awesome.
Yeah, we've had a lot of success on these Strives so far.
Yeah, so I thought it was interesting. Before we started filming, I was kind of just looking at this ski, and they listed recommended bindings as Shift 13 and STH 13, and I think some of the other skis even list the Warden.
Yep.
This Strive is better than both Warden and STH in my opinion.
Okay.
I think it's great. I love it. We can we'll do a Strive binding review at some point, but we've been very impressed with it. And now the last Jeff tangent that I'll bring up is when we did the QST 98 review, we talked about kind of some subtle freestyle influence to that ski. Since then, I've seen plenty of Salomon athletes and other people mounting it pretty darn centered and like even using it in the park and stuff like that. I think there is some of that in this ski, and for whatever reason, it feels like a little bit less.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're thinking about a twin tip at that range, you know, like an Armada ARV 106, like
Yeah, it's not that.
it's not that.
Right.
But it certainly has that multi-directional influence to it.
Right, and I popped a couple 180s out there and skied switch on it, and I think that was fine. I also think that there's a little bit of customization here. I think this is the type of ski where you need to be kind of careful with it. You don't want to go too far in the camber, but I do think, you know, you could at least move the bindings a couple centimeters forward and
I think you're overthinking it. I think that thing works great on the line.
It does work great on the line, but if you were that skier, like if you wanted to ski at switch more often, I do think there's that capability. I told you we were going off on weird Jeff tangents, all right? You got to take me more seriously when I preface things like that.
Yeah, no, I gotcha.
I wanted to at least point out that there is, and I think it, you know, more so than this, which is the same conversation we had when we went from QST 99 to QST 98. No, it's not a twin tip. No, it's not specifically designed for that. Can you do it? Yeah, I think you can. And that conversation was evident, was apparent in these skis.
Right.
And that was something that even Salomon talked about. You know, they brought together a ton of different athletes, and some of those athletes wanted to be able to land switch and powder. So they gave that ski the ability to do so, and there's a ton of similarities between that ski and this ski. So if you can do it on that ski, I believe you can do it on this ski.
Yeah, and it's definitely the rocker built in, not like a twin tip built in.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's the QST 106. Anything you want to leave them with, Bob?
I don't think so. Just, you know, again, great with the bases.
Yeah,
you know, and
great base.
We had it with the blank too. I mean, it's just it just pops.
Yeah, what's the best QST base ever?
I don't know. We gotta find the ladies versions.
Right, we gotta bring them all up here.
We gotta bring them all up here, but I think it's great.
No, me too. When I was watching the jump turn footage this morning, I was like, look at that base.
Yeah, I really tried to get under there and try to get the bases.
That was great. So great job, Salomon. I think they did a fantastic job with the whole QST line, we can now say. So let us know if you have any questions, as always, and we will see you guys out there on the hill.
Bye.